数字が番号で左上になんですか、ホリジっていうんですか。あ、海外版はディスクシステムがないんだ。コピー対策な。
I'm here. If you haven't figured that out, on the couch I've got Beazle and Presley Pulp and
来ましたね、早いですね。
And this is all to 80% no scroll lock. So I'm going to reset the game real quick. We had a
音が全然違う。
a file name.
Sure did, and the winner was Lunk. That's capital L-U-N-K.
ランク。ランク。リンクじゃなくてランク。
Alright, I think we're ready. So let's get started in 3, 2, 1, go.
はい、わかりました。これスタートですね。
So this is Zelda 2, 80% no scroll lock. We start with the sword. Sorry guys, but we're not going to get the boomerang or the
敵の表示も違いますね。
any of that kind of stuff. We're going to get a hammer though. But, we're going to start off with a double frame perfect trick that while I concentrate on it, the guys on the couch will tell you what I'm doing.
So yeah, by talking to the healer lady here on 2 specific frames, 1/60th of a second window, we're going to cause a race condition in what she does. Basically, she's going to
敵も日本のやつだと赤と青になってるんで、海外版は全部黒でしたから違いましたね。
which is a map that actually doesn't exist anywhere in the game. This is probably just garbage memory, not sure. And so we warp past the hammer boundary, get past the boulder. So now we can actually get the hammer. We're skipping the hammer to get the hammer.
ああ、色違いで分けてるんですね。色じゃ形でシルエットで。
Killing these enemies, it's because we need attack 3 experience as soon as possible. And in a marathon, you have to be safe, so you have to avoid requiring luck to get that experience. So.
ワープしてま
This
す
is
ね。
one of the most dangerous parts of the run because I'm so weak. So I'm going to go pick up this extra life. This is Zelda game with extra lives and experience points and all that good stuff. Quite a bit different than most Zelda games. So.
Yeah, and this bridge error is on right now. Normally, you would be at about level 5 in attack and the rest of your stats as well. So going through here at your bare minimum levels is extremely
じゃあ上がりますね。
So I just picked up an attack level. Attack levels are really important at the beginning of the game. It lets me do more
セイント
damage.
セイヤ。
Lets me kill bosses quicker. Lets me kill enemies quicker. I'm doing a technique to jump over these guys. The game cheats a little bit in how some of these enemies chase you around the screen.
アイアムエラーってなんかいたよね。
But it doesn't actually.
え、もうここ？早くない？
So I take my hand off the D-pad when I'm jumping over them, and it prevents the enemies from backing off. So this screen is dark.
ここは本当は
There's enemies on it.
明かりが
Normally you would have the candle at this part.
明かりがないといけないんですけど、敵がわかんないんですけど。
But it's probably hard to see on stream and in the stream room. But the enemy sprites clip into the floor just a little bit.
敵のスプライトが少し表示されているのでわかるらしいです。 なんか微妙にスプライトで反応して見えるようになってるらしいんでわかるらしいですよ。まあ配信画面じゃ全くわかんないですけどね。おお。
So coming up is a drop. There's a drop counter based on the number of enemies and the type of enemies. I'm hoping for a specific drop.
色が結構はっきりした色になってますよね。
That'll allow me to, and I actually got it.
日本のはディスクシステムなんで色がちょっともう少し淡い色ですけど、まあネスなんで、まあちょっとはっきり映ってる感じですかね。
And that's basically forcing a game over. We're going to leave Death Mountain and go back to the beginning of the game.
で、取りました。
And as you can
で
see,
最初に
following
戻り
this,
ます
you're gonna
ね。
see Lunk a whole bunch of times.
One nice side effect of Up A is that when you restart like that, the random number generator resets back to the beginning position. So those overworld encounters will do the same thing every time, as long as you get to there the same way every time. And so we end up, thanks to Feasel rerouting the game, we were able to find a lot of ways to make good use of that.
And I have to thank Arctic Eagle for coming up with a lot of that really clever stuff. Other thing that you get is all your lives back and all your health and all your magic back. That's very helpful. Makes this a very safe category and pretty reasonable to skip the life spell in any category that has up A.
で街に移
If
動
you
か
lose
な。
your experience, any experience that hasn't been spent on a level is gone.
So right now we're doing a whole bunch of fetch quest stuff because I need a few spells to beat the game, and so what I just picked up in
多
that
分
one
スペル
dark
を
age
習いに行く
trophy,
のかなこれ
which
は。
is required to get the jump spell. And
ね
I'll be doing
ああ
a
やっぱ
couple
そうだよ
more
ね。
just fetch quests
ジャン
like
プ
that. So
ジャンプで
if
し
you
た
have
ね。
any donations to read, now's a good time.
Sure do. $25 from Central Blues. Gotta donate again to one of my favorite Zelda games. Error, you are a real hero.
はい。でハイジャンプで
$25
す
from
ね。
Anonymous who says, "Good lunk."
So we picked up the hammer in Death Mountain, and it does two things. It can chop down trees, and it can break boulders. Why a hammer can chop down trees is beyond me, but it's a good question. So since the RNG starts at the same time every time I up
Good
A,
luck.
there's many encounter manipulations. Well, the encounters on the world map.
平和だな。
There's two different counters. There's a time counter and then there's a step counter. So starting at 3 seconds, and then every 8 seconds after that, a random encounter will spawn if I'm not on a road tile. And an encounter will spawn every 16 steps if I'm not on a road tile either.
マップの敵は16ステップご16マスごとに発生するそうで
I try and manipulate my steps to avoid as many encounters as possible.
Yeah, it looks like the enemy's movement is sporadic and random on the overworld, but they actually follow a pretty fixed set of rules. We can kind of get the spawns where we want and then sidestep them, knowing how they react to.
じゃあ敵が全部白黒ですけど本来は
Yeah, there's a really
日本
interesting
語
picture
版
you
で
can
は
find
黄
by
色
Google
と青と
that
赤
shows
です
a
ね
vector field that
信号ですね
determines which way the monsters move based on where they are relative to Link.
But the nice thing is with this up A route, we can get really favorable patterns that just happen to
De-
run away from Link instead of toward Link. So
サリアの町ですかねサリアの町行ってあれかな対岸に渡るのかな
And this is Mido Town, where we're gonna get the most powerful
あ、
sword
じゃあミドか
technique in the game, the
今
down
日
stab.
からミドだ
I'm
ね
told it's strong in Smash Brothers, and it's even stronger in this game.
俺も
Second worst
忘れ
sword
てんなダメだなで下付き教えようっていう
You think Link's a smart guy if you know.
そうするとまあここで下付きを覚えられるんですねまあこれ結構重要なスキルでこれでほとんど敵を倒してくれるようなもんですからやっぱり RTA じゃなくても多分普通のプレイでも結構ご利益があるスキルなんでやっぱり取るんでしょうねこれ最強です下付きは最強ですもう問答名で最強ですこれはそうそうスマブラにもリンクがやってるあれですね
Normally when Link moves
これ
around,
で
he's got momentum. He takes some time to speed up, takes some time
と
to
なんだっけ名前
Fairy doesn't have any momentum, doesn't take any time to accelerate, just instantly moves in the direction you press with full speed. And that ends up breaking the game in several different ways, depending on how you use it. Most importantly, you can ferry through a door without a key.
And you can pick up items without an item pickup animation,
今のなんだろ
which is
う魔
why he
法
doesn't do this earlier.
But I can't actually cast Fairy without the item in this game.
That's true.
ほら強いですね
There's a magic.
あフェアリーか
So we finally finished all
じゃあ
of our
聖なる
quest
水取ったから
questing,
フェアリ
and
ー
now we
ん
can
違う
go start doing, palaces.
ごちゃごちゃだ
Or
ちょっと
basically
待っ
which are
て
the dungeons of the game. Most players that have done this would normally do what we would call Palace 1 first, which is in the northeast corner of this continent. We're not going to do that. We're going to go do Palace 2 first, because we still need some experience from kills, and there's not a lot of enemies in Palace 1.
フェアリーですか
Ton
ね
of enemies in Palace
失礼しました
help us get some more experience to increase our attack level, kill bosses faster.
That double back he did on
は
the
い
road there, that
新
was
年
an
に入りまし
intentional
た
manipulation, preventing an entire spawn of overworld enemies by staying on the road just a little bit longer when that timer was going
あれは第2か第2神殿で
Yeah,
す
he
ね
had to make a decision right before
第
going
2
into
神
the
殿に入っ
palace.
てきました
Didn't
ね
work out in his favor. There was an enemy in his way, so he did have to go back and take a path encounter.
So this is
まあ
very
これはよく
dumb.
あるやつですね
Don't have a key, doesn't matter.
フェアリーになると
You
鍵
don't
無
have
視
to
し
go
て
out of the
進
way
め
to
るん
get
で
keys. It's just such a pain.
神殿の蔵同じじゃないですか違った俺同じに見えたけど
Best room in the game. Any combination of bots and
あでも中のステージの蔵はちょっと違いますね
trouble.
多分っていうかちょっ
This is
と
my
違っ
first
たよう
iron
な
knuckle. Gave me trouble as a kid, but just so happens you could just hit them in the visor a whole bunch of times and they die. That statue head has
ちゃんと MP 回復しましたね
Palaces 1, 2, and 5, all of those locations that can have a drop will always be a red jar, which completely refills my magic. In other palaces, palaces 3, 4, and 6, it has a 50-50 shot of being a red jar or an enemy. Those blocks are completely random. If I get extremely unlucky, it could block me in and basically trap me to where I have no way of getting out and have to die.
Because you have to get past them to get the item that lets you break blocks, the handy glove right here.
でグローブを取ります
And there, he didn't hold up the item. The fairy just saves you time in so many ways. And that's not even
あとは
the
ボス
biggest
倒しに
thing
行くは
yet.
ず
That
で
will
すけ
come
ど
later.
So coming up on
まあブロッ
another
クを手に入れるとブロックを壊せるっていう
6 count drop.
まあ
50-50 shot
能
of
力
getting
が
a red jar or a points bag, and I'm hoping for the points bag in this case, so
あ
I
違うよ
don't have to kill as many enemies.
なんだっけダメだ
Got a red jar
忘れて
instead.
る
That's okay.
嘘言っちゃったあとは右の奥に
You may see me when going down elevators. You may see me slash the wall.
ここの奥に、まあ、ボスが第二神殿のボスがいます
I can't normally walk while going down an elevator, so I slash the wall to push me in the direction I want to go.
This room
でこれで
is、
壊して
difficult and very just painful to have to fight those enemies, which can downstab you at any time.
Yeah, this is what he would have skipped probably if he had gotten the P bag.
Yeah, that's exactly why you want that lucky drop there. Making our way to the boss of Palace 2 here. Still need a few hundred
で
experience for attack
ボス
4.
ですね
So we got another drop coming up. I hope it's a points bag. Never lucky.
経験値袋取るかな
That's okay.
取る
We'll clear
ね
out the palace of basically every single enemy. That's fine.
They brought it on themselves. They only had themselves to blame.
下敷きが何が強いかってあれさっきの見てもらったら分かる通りの
One
あれが
HP
強いんですよ
strats.
It wouldn't be a Zelda without beef strats. Skeleton wanted some.
でまあ鍵をフェアリーで抜けると
So we do need this extra attack level, so we have to back up, kill these enemies.
レベルを上げるんですよねあ上げましたね
So most of these iron knuckles, if you get on top of them quickly, they don't have enough time to react. It takes a little bit for them to actually wake up. This is Helmet Head. I'm going to take him kind of safe. He was a jerk and walked off screen on me. So
はい
just bounced back on the side of the screen.
あっさり倒しましたね
What he did there at the end was a jackhammer. He actually got on top of the enemy and just mashed
で
down.
なんか上げる必要がないみた
Every
い
time you
で
push down on the D-pad while you're in the air, it counts as another attack with the sword. So
キャンセル
you
し
can
て
just
ました
mash
ね。
down and just hit him again and again and finish off the battle. just
So
like
you may
that.
notice I was at 228 out of 2,000 experience points. When you finish a palace and place the gym, you immediately get enough experience to go to the next level. And you may have noticed that I've been skipping life and magic levels. And that's because I want as big a bonus for the end of the gym as possible. In this case, around 2,000 points. So now we're on our way to actually do Palace 1.
でまた最初に戻って
Reversing the order of Palace 1 and Palace 2. Now the Palace
洞
1
窟移動
gem
して
bonus is just going to be
多分第一行くんかな。あの洞窟だから第一だと思うんだけど、あ第一ですね。第一神殿に今から向かうみたいですね。
Sure. $150 from Hellfree. Good Lunk Save Zolda. $150 from Sir George. I stayed up late to watch Air 72's run. He
い
decides
や
where
ーレ
this
ベルが
goes.
高いからレベル5だからあっさり倒しますね。
$30 from Anonymous. Hey guys, first time donor, many time viewer. I started playing Zelda 2 as soon as I could play video games. And after many year-long breaks out of Rage, I finally finished it earlier this week.
多分
It
ろう
was the
そく
first
は
time
取
I
らない
remember
で
playing,
その
and
ま
I knew I
ま
had to donate to the Zelda 2
ボスの
run.
部屋行っちゃう
Glad
と
to
思い
donate
ま
to
すけ
such a
ど
great charity as Doctors Without Borders and watch video games at the same time.
So you
は
may
い
notice
2番目
I'm
のエレベー
one-shotting
タ
all
ー
the
ですね。
enemies.
で
That's
この
because
右に
Attack 5 is seriously
Bossが
overpowered for this section of the game. Another 6 count coming up. I'm hoping for a red jar here. Never lucky. But it's okay. We got a magic refill coming up this next screen.
Yeah, because he didn't get
これ
the,
わざと
jar
死
drop,
ん
he's
死ん
gonna
で
take
ま
an
すね。
intentional death, which will
ちょ
refill
っと
his
死ん
magic.
で MP 回復させてフェアリーで逃げるっていう。
Most people don't know that the hammers will refill your magic like that if you just walk into them enough. The lava does that too.
はいこんにちはどうもです。ねこんにちはつって。
So this is
で
Horsehead.
これがボスですね。
The
馬です
ears
馬
for
馬弱いです。
Attack 5. And
しかもレベル5だからもうあっさり倒しますね。
He's afraid. He had to run and hide.
で結構馬の判定が頭にしかないから頭にしかないんでめんどくさいんですよ白いとこしか。
Time to grind up 2,500 experience points, and we're just going to get that for free from the gem here.
And while we're waiting for that, got
そうですね
some
土
answers to
日
Sure.
に入ってきますけどビッグタイトル多いですね。
$1,000 from Matthew. Been watching.
おおもう武器レベルだけ上げて
Been watching this event for years, but have never been able to donate. After saving for a little while, I think I can send some change your way. Cheers. P.S. Kill those animals.
All right, so we're on our way to Palace 3, the Island Palace. Error of Rutotan will tell you how to get there if you don't know.
レベルを上げて物理で
Error's right here, so he knows
そ
the
の
way.
通り。
And what Eric did right there with the block was a little bit of an encounter manipulation. He waited for a specific audio cue to break the block on, and that guaranteed him to get a back spawn and be able to get to the King's Tomb encounter free.
Thanks, Fiesel.
Yeah, thanks, Fiesel.
Oh, did I make that up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We think you did. If it's someone else, we'll only give someone else the credit.
I don't remember anyone else doing it.
で第3ですね。ここから第3神殿に入ります。
So now we're in Palace 3, the Island Palace. The first palace we get to see, and just demonstrated there that statues can be either 50-50 red jar or enemy. So I'm going to level up my magic and life a couple of times in this palace. You may have noticed my magic was completely empty, and then I leveled up magic, and now I have full magic. So that's going to get used a couple of times during the run to
ま
to refill my magic.
あまあ
HP
知って
points.
る人がいるかもしれないんですがレベル上がった時に
Jumping over the first of the
あの
guys that are
マ
actually
グマジ
despawn one of the
マジッ
little
クを使っ
spike guys that we use.
使いながら
Just one of those
レベルが上が
tiny
ったりすると
manipulations
全部
that
回
you don't
復
know
す
it's
るの
there.
で
You don't know how much
でマジックのレベルを上げるとマジック全回復しますのでそれを使ってやるのはよくやるバグであります。まあこれは
So one of the few keys we actually grab in the
一
run.
般的にやるときもよく
Most cases
使う
just
と思い
very
ますけ
few
ど
keys.
the way this game is
あ
designed,
の
you're meant to
なんだっ
be
け
going room to room
神殿の中にある赤い
after key after key.
壺ですね
They put
壺
keys
を
in
出
so
す
many
前に
ways, so being able to
マジック
skip
使っ
keys
て
is a gigantic time save.
マジックを使ってまあ減らしておくことで
The skeletons are easily one of the most
ま
annoying
あ回
enemies.
復をしながらやれるっていう
So I have to set a reminder for myself for the next stream.
まあ今壺出ましたけど用ないんで取ってないといかないです
Not
ね
pick up the key.
If you have the key and you try to ferry through a door, it will use the key instead of letting you ferry through it. So that would be a waste.
So then we have to go to one of those dead ends we were talking about.
So we're at the item room here, and we meet our first blue iron knuckle. And now he's gone.
おおうまい
That was the jackhammer
で今
technique again.
マジック上げたん
There's
で
no
マ
limit
ジッ
how
クが
fast
全
you
回
can
復しました
hit enemies if you just mash down. I mean, you can 30 times a
で
second.
イカダを取って
And the reason for that is your normal
戻ります来た道を戻ります
whereas the jackhammer is just one static frame that is pretty much playing whenever you're pressing down on the D-pad.
来た道を戻ってボスを倒しに行きます
Wow.
危なかった今
Corner glitched back up. That was crazy.
This is
Yeah.
fine. Everything's fine.
Totally intentional.
Bots, they can jump at any time. They can change direction at any time.
Most unpredictable
あ
enemies
の
in the
意外
game by
と
far.
下付きの時は
And the designers did a very good job of
キャラ
putting
の
the
判
moves
定
block
が
a lot.
1.5 ぐらいだったか
It was
な
just
感覚的には 1.5 ぐらいなんで
very good game design in that.
なんか上を
So the item we picked up was
打つしか
giraffe.
ない
It allows
幅
us
ない
to
とこでも
reach
普
east
通
and
に
Hyrule.
上ジャンプしてガタガタガタってい
Normally
け
I
るん
try
で
and find a magic pixel to fly over this enemy called the Doom Knocker.
よくわかんないですね
I
この
don't
ゲー
think
ム
I'd survive a hit if I missed it, so I'm just going to wait for him to get out of the way. Another 6 count coming up. This time I'm hoping for a points bag. Never lucky.
おおラッキーですね
I think we're up to 5 or 6 wrong drops so far.
I got the most important one in Death Mountain, so I guess I'll be happy.
The nice thing about that is you get a blue iron knuckle, which is basically equivalent to it because it doesn't increment your 6 count.
Boss time.
So this is Rebonak. He's a blue
で、
iron knuckle.
第3神殿のボスですね突進してきます馬に乗ってるだけなんで
And we're going to bounce on his head a bunch of times. And he gives,
終わりましたね早いね
as advertised, 301 experience points.
That's right. All the enemies that say they're worth 300 are actually worth 301.
Because for some reason, when they brought this game out of Japan, they went and changed up a bunch of the experience values of the enemies. And when they changed that one from
ほん
200
と
to
サクサクして
300,
ますね
they typoed it.
馬が帰る前に終わってまし
We
た
got
ね
time for a couple of donations.
Sure. $25 from Makeva. Awesome job, everyone.
一気
Way
に
to
レベル
go.
上げて
Glad
ん
I
な
caught the Zelda 2 run this year.
でまた最初に戻ります今度は早い
The whole
ので
week off to watch the event with my girlfriend, and we've been having a great time doing nothing but watching and playing games. Shoutouts to Era for making me look bad, since Zelda 2 is the only Zelda game I never beat. Don't die to Thunderbird.
I can pretty much guarantee that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. You'll see.
So I missed the audio cue there, but
でイカダに乗って
might end up with a couple of extra encounters here, but
でででででつって
to make it to where I need to go.
でこの後ナボールに行きますねナボール町行くかなあ行かない
Dodges.
ナボールの
So another dark
とこ行
cave.
かなかった
One of the few places Beam Sword is
ね
useful
もう
is
一気に
to
倒しちゃったから
cover our heads just in case
表示がバグっ
the,
てましたね
the Aikman, which are the dragon bats,
こっちに行くってことは
shoot down on my head.
ダルニアに行くんかなあダルニアじゃないか
And as far as overworld encounters go, fairies are the most randomly moving encounters on the overworld.
あれ何調整して入れてんの
Normally, in a casual run, you'd want to see them, but in a speed
で、
run,
迷路島で
you
す
can't
ね
manipulate
迷路
them
島
completely random. So
に来て
As it turns out, most enemies, if you're one tile
で
above
ここに子供が
they will
確か
actually
いた
try
は
to
ずで
move left or right. So you can
今
use
今
that
落ちた
to
とこ
your
ろは
advantage
確か
and
子
just
供
like
が
sometimes walk all the way
いた
across
と
the
思ったんですけ
continent,
ど
one right
これを
below you.
助けるんじゃなかったっけな
They try to help you, and that hurts the speed run.
we're on Maze Island now, and we just rescued the kid.
まあ スピードランナーは明かりがいらないのでおそらく。
There's a problem with actually getting it right now, though, is that you need as many magic containers as the
でこの
slot
魔
where
法
the
の器
spell
を取りますかね。取りましたね。
is located. So Reflect is in slot 6. At the time we picked up the kid, we only had 5 magic containers. So if I had gone to Darunia, which is the town where you get Reflect,
迷路って言いながら迷路にならないっていうね。さすが
We're going to
RTA。
attempt our first glitch for why this category exists, and it's called Fairy Feet.
Basically, what Eric did there is he,
さっきの近道の方はまたマップを通る羽目になっちゃうので遠回りします。この道がマップを挟まなくて行けるルートなんでスムーズにこっちまで来れます。さっきの1回だけは入らなきゃいけない場所なんで入るんですけど、あとは抜けれるんですけど、抜けれるので、まあ、一番遠回りするルートが、まあ、マップが何もない、その間に何も挟まないでずっとワールドマップを歩くだけっていう、それだけですね。
And it only works in the overworld. It doesn't work in palaces like this. Otherwise, I'd probably be using it a lot more often here.
While we're here,
最初ブーツかな。ああ、ブーツ取り行きますね。
Yes, and these will save him time walking to the town to get the reflex spell and also walking back to the dungeon itself.
This palace is very neatly split in half. The boots are on one side, the boss is on the other. So getting the boots and doing enough A saves a good amount of backtracking.
ブーツだけ取ってもう取りましたね。
So we got a little bit of backtrack ahead of us, so if you have a couple of donations.
Sure do. David Pittman donates $50, says, gotta donate during a great run of one of my favorite childhood games, Zelda 2 Best Zelda. $50 from Dupid245, who needs sleep when Zelda's on?
確かね、さっきの神殿は、リフレックスっていう魔法がないとボスが倒せないんですね。相手は敵がボスが、魔法でしかダメージを与えられないので、まあ、どうしてもリフレックスっていう魔法を使わざるを得ません。まあ、反射ですね。反射の魔法を使って倒しに行きます。あ、その前にあれかな、街行くのかな。ダルニアの街行くのかな。
You're normally supposed to walk onto that square, and then you have this lengthy encounter with water pits and everything. But if you get a random overworld encounter as you walk onto that,
あ、ダルニアの街来ました
random
ね。
overworld encounter takes priority. And those are much
ダルニアの街でリフレックスの魔法を手に入れなきゃいけないので、まあ多分来たんでしょうね。
Some of these names may sound familiar to Nintendo 64 fans.
で、ダルニアの街でそのリフレックスを取るための条件として必要なのがさっきの子供を助けたと思うんですが、あれが必要です。あれが助けられてないとダメです。はい。
Had this been a run where it actually mattered, it would have probably taken about 12 tries because that's how that trick goes.
Except you can ferry down the chimney.
This magic will strengthen a shield.
Which is actually something we recently found out, I'd say within the past year maybe.
Yeah.
子供必須ですね。
Zelda 2 randomizer out there. There's a lot of new runners coming into the game, and finding all these glitches, playing the randomizer, which is why this category exists.
でまた第4神殿迎えると思いま
Because
す。
we want to use all those fun glitches.
So you may
第4
see
神殿に行ってあとはボスを倒しに行くっていう
every。time you cast the spell, you have to open the menu to cast another spell. That keeps you from accidentally casting the same spell again.
そうです。ミラーシールドみたいなもんです。はい。
And just blowing all your magic with no benefit.
まあ基本的に全部マジックで済ませる感じですね。
So this is showing off what the boots do.
あ、ブーツを持ってるん
The
で。
overworld loop, so enjoy it. Pick up another one up here. We might need it later.
ブーツを持ってるんでまあ 移動ができます。ブーツを取ると水の上でも歩けるので、まあ迷路は迷路ではなくなるっていう。
Because no scroll lock skips some magic containers, the requirement to get reflect. Error has to do this in a very weird order.
And having up A, that the boots are so far
必ず役に立つので、やっぱり取り行きますね。
item on one side and the boss on the other, but in most of the categories, it can pay off to just up A after getting the boots.
Getting that key, you're supposed to have upstab, but if you cast jump and jump into the block, you can clip just enough into the block to be able to stab it with an ordinary side stab.
Oh, I fell in the lava. But I needed it to
多分
Nice hot bath.
多分わざとだと思うな今の。
cleanses the soul.
多分わざとだと思うな今のも。
And we know this game wounds error soul so many times.
So as I said earlier, we needed a reflect spell to beat the boss. So we're about at the boss, and it requires intense concentration to do. So need to be a little bit quiet for the next room.
Karok.
ででんはい、ボスですね。こいつがリフレックス
So
が
how
な
you
い
guys
と。
doing back there?
このボス簡単です。これだけです。
I am getting the
リ
worst
フレ
pattern
ッ
ever.
クの魔法を使った後に画面端に行って待つだけ。こんなボスいるのかって。
Yeah, this is the best strat. That's the only thing you can do.
So
これで倒せます。
Eric's teleporting is effectively random. So you could theoretically learn each individual pattern, but no one wants to take the time to do that. So basically, you just sit in the corner and let him kill himself. And that may have been the worst fight I've
で
ever had.
ジャンプが意外とランダムらしくって、ある程度パターンがあるみたいなんですけど、まあ
So notably, we didn't
それを
actually
するん
up
だ
A
った
out of
ら
this palace.
画面端にいて
I'm gonna try not to up A again to
画面端にいてずっとリフレックスで、まあ、ガードしてた方が
So we're on our way to the
楽だし早い。
Ocean Palace. Palace 5.
でそうすると
Use my big bonus of experience to give
さっきのね
me some life levels so I don't die so easily since I don't have
ブーツを使っ
basically
て
any of the safeties of the rock.
浅瀬を抜
I don't have
け
the shield
て
spell, I don't- which,
第5神殿
reduces
行き
my
ま
defense.
す。
I don't have the life spell, which restores my life. I haven't picked up any extra heart containers.
And right now you're supposed to have 7 hearts, not 4.
So my apologies to all of the Zelda 2 all keys runners. We're not doing the eco key. There's a damage boost strat for picking up that key without having to cast fairy and it saves a whole bunch
本
of
当
time because you
フェアリーの魔法は優秀ですね。
one of the items you actually can't pick up with the fairy spell.
メデュースさん、あ、違った
You。have to hit him with your sword, and you can't use your sword as a fairy. So
But we don't need that key, so we don't have to take that risk.
まあ途中道中落ちてる P 袋を取ると経験値袋なんで
It reduces fairy spell to its lowest possible cost, so we can just use it freely. And just pick up red jars in the palaces where we know where they are. Like in the very next room.
so this key is too far out of the way. We don't have time to pick that one up.
We're lazy.
We got a jump spell for it.
神殿内はそうですね、フェアリーの方が時間長いですね。
So Palace 5 is one of the palaces where all of the drops are guaranteed to be red jars from their statue locations.
The enemies in this palace are a bit random and very punishing if you get unlucky enough. So those
で
orange
左側に行って第5はなんだっけか笛か
serious pieces.
They also give you a lot of experience.
確か
so don't mess up your
笛を
system.
取りに行くんじゃなかったかな。
That's about as out of the way as we ever want to go for a key.
That was almost too
あ、でも
far.
笛取らなくてもいいのか。笛って ワールドマップ上の敵を消すだけだから用がないのかな。
It would like double the length of the run to show all of them, and most of them have keys.
See if he gets the frame perfect trick.
ああ、ボス部屋じゃない、フレームスキップ。
That wall clip there.
Still on my couch for you. That wall. It's even a hint for it.
But we're in the wall. You can see it.
Okay, it's not frame perfect, it's a 2-frame window.
Yeah, you have to hold right when you're
Yeah,
standing
might
next to the
not.
wall, and then you'll walk into the wall.
You have to jump too.
Oh.
でこれをみんなよく使います。回復中にフェアリー使うと、フェアリーとか魔法使えばこのように、あ、増え通り来ましたね。まあこれをよく皆さん使うと、まあ、知らない方はこれを見て初めて知るかもしれないですけど、ああいうなんですか、MP が上がってる途中に瓶を取るとその分まで補填がされるので、まあ、全回復の瓶なんでそういうのがあるんですけど。稼ぎなのかな。
There is a route through this palace that lets you avoid this backtrack, kill the boss first.
でまあエレベーターに乗っかって
Air's
上
the
に
one up A, so it actually takes the same amount of time. It just you backtrack in different ways, basically.
So we're almost to the boss, and this is
次
the
ボ
most
スじゃない
dangerous
か
enemy
な。
in the game.
ルート的に次ボスだと思うんだけど、もうそろそろ。
He's got a big mace and it hurts. And his head is covered, so I can bounce on his head, but I can't actually damage him from above. So
リンクの冒険の神殿意外と迷うんですよね。似たようなとこだから。ボスですね。
Slower with the jump spell, but I'm going to cast it for safety to give myself the best window for avoiding this mace.
And that mace, the sprite is big. It will hit you. It seems like it's even bigger than that. So,
まあ
nice clean fight.
このボスは強くない。
Missed the key.
そうリンクの冒険広いんですよ、マップが。
So I forgot to do this in Palace 4, but time still continues on while the fanfare of placing the gem happens. So I actually select the next spell I want to cast at that while the gem is rising up and the fanfare is playing to save it maybe half a second or so.
笛取ったけど、笛取んなきゃいけないんだっけ？
So with a fine plunger, we're going to flush this river devil down the river.
あ、笛でね、消えるんで。
Gonna try and get a encounter skip, which cooperated.
メトロイドはもっと迷いますね。そうですね。
Yeah, he took that random encounter on a square where a forced encounter would normally be and it allowed him to skip it.
These fence encounters.
こうマップが3回かかるんで、
Yeah, these are pretty
最初のやつ
nasty.
を
You're
しました
almost
ね。
guaranteed to take damage in them. So it's best to try to skip as many of them as you can.
So one encounter skip, one fairy feat, and they only actually had to run under
で、こ
one
こから
set of rock throwers.
第6に行くんじゃないかな。
So I don't think it's pretty common for Roots to
ああ、
go this
旧
way.
カストに
Normally
行くの
we go
か。
to the hidden town next, but he doesn't need to go there because he doesn't need the magic jar or the spell or the any key.
Yeah.
あ、
Playing
行かない行か
casually,
ない。
you would normally want to get all the spells, and to get all the spells, you have to get all the magic containers. But we're skipping one magic container, which means we actually now can't get the thunder spell.
ああ、
So skipping, those two screens with fairy means that I actually needed to hit my 50-50 for a jar. And I got a iron knuckle first time,
で
so I could have been
この第6神殿っていうのは鍵が出ないんですよ。
because if I get a
鍵が1個も落ちてないので、 まあ進むためにはフェアリーが割と必須になるので、
There are no keys in Palace 6. None at all.
なのでまあ基本的には隠しで、ああ出なかったね。
Except for the bosses. You're killing me. You're killing me. So yeah, you're normally required to get the
本当は
magic key.
本当は壺を出したかった
Except for the
で
boss
すね。 で、フェアリーで抜けますね。
Time my fall just right and clip under the floor, I'll actually end up on the ceiling of that room. But I missed it, so I had to ferry through a door, and am now out of magic.
MP がないんで
I've got to borrow magic now.
1ゲージだけ16回復しましたね。
Blue jars, they 6 count for the small enemies. They happen 7 out of 8 times. Restores 1 bar of magic. That's
まあレベルが上がれば
not
別
quite
に
enough for what we need.
割りも全然問題ないと思うんですけど、
So we're gonna take a little dip in the lava here and restore our magic.
まあフェア
In
リ
this game,
ーが
the red
もう
potion
基
gives you a magic
本
refill.
じゃないですか。
So one of 2 required fairy casts in the
で、まあ、フェアリーでないと抜けられない
no
の
other way
で
to get by the screen. Although I think
他で抜けられないこともないんですけど、
bubbles will do it.
We need to find some intrepid tasser to try that.
So this
はい、ボスです。中ボスですかね。ここは中ボスです。まあ、中ボスっていうか他の神殿にいたボスなんですけど、
And that's dangerous because if you push him too far off screen as you kill him, the key will not drop.
あ、やっぱ上げま
and
した
then you
ね。
have to up A to get out.
で、倒すのが遠すぎると鍵が出ないそうで、まあ倒す場所は気をつけてると。
Fight a boss or a mini boss, the screen stops, you hit the key, and then the screen starts moving again. So they give you keys unnecessarily. Same thing at Thunderbird.
So normally I wouldn't come over here on this screen, but there's an extra life over here. And the next
ワンナップ取り
section
き
of
ま
the
した
game
ね。
is super dangerous. So I'm going to grab this for safety.
バブル倒す。
You'll see why in about
なるほど。
2 or 3 minutes.
Link finding dolls of
で、
himself
こう下落ちると
scattered
まだ
throughout
下が
Hyrule,
つながってるの
where
で、
he happens to be
フェア
going.
リー使って
Is someone
抜け
sending
ま
him a
す。
message?
Once he enters the screen, he's gonna
ここはフェアリー使わないとすぐ来れないんで。で、ここは第6か、第6のボスですね。竜です。ああ、危ない危ない。
One hit away.
惜しいけど危ない。
Attack 6. Jackhammer.
2 hits
Barbara.
away.
Two hits.
Very tough.
ああ、強いね。タフですね。よし、終わりました。
Yeah, after that first cycle, he doesn't know where Barbara's going to appear.
はい。
And that's the last of the 6 gems needed to
これが
replace,
第6神殿ですね。
unlock the Great Palace,
で、これ
guarding the
アンロッ
Triforce
クできた
turret.
ので、
So you may have noticed that when I loaded
大
the
神
game
殿
to
にこれ
start
から
off
行く
with,
と思い
that I
ますよ。
had 2 save files called soft lock instruments. There's actually a way to soft lock the game. And that is by leveling up on the same frame that you leave the screen at. And basically, the game enters a state where it's expecting you to select a level up, but it's on a black screen transition. And you won't be able to do any inputs. You can't even up A from it, which would be you would lose all progress. So I set up a couple of save files to prevent that.
So this is toughest part of the run right here.
今、暗闇のところにMP の回復の壺があって、それを今攻撃しまして、回復しました。で、入った瞬間にフェアリー使ってるんで、まだ時間としては MP 回復の壺の効果がまだ効いてるので、その間に MP 回復しちゃうっていう。
Yeah, but
skill.
But we can't actually see the hard part here because he keeps dodging all the encounters.
You guys have no idea. He's killing it.
So this would normally be the room I'd be most likely to die, and still might. This room is full of invisible enemies, even if I could see, because I did not pick up the item in Palace 6, which is the cross. But it's dark anyway, so.
あ、でもクロス取らないですね。クロス取らなくてもいいって言ってました今ね。
Keep holding forward and hope that the enemy's flying away where they don't just wreck you by the end of the room.
Scorpion Max taking a toll there.
あー、落ちた。
I got sniped by an enemy there, and I couldn't cast Fairy to save myself.
いいスナイパーでしたね今ね。
But that's okay, we got extra lives.
And fortunately, once you get to the Great Palace, you can up A and you'll start from the Great Palace. That's the only place in the game where you don't start back at the normal starting location.
早い
The
な
reason for that is this game was originally released in Japan for the Famicom disk system, which used floppy disks to store the game, and all of the game is on
今日本版の最初に出た
side
バージョンのやつを説明して
while
ま
the Great
す。
Palace and the file select screen are on side A. So when you enter the Great Palace, it has you flip the disc over, and they probably had an up A or a game over restart you at the entrance of the palace, so you didn't have to constantly keep flipping sides every time you game over.
So this is a great palace.
A 面ってあるんで、いちいち変えなきゃいけないっていう
And they all have
面倒くささがあるよと、そういう話を今してました。
That one guy I just passed what we call a spicy chicken. And the reason why they all have nicknames
大神で面倒くさいんだよな。
the proper Japanese name could potentially be not PG.
Yeah.
何
I can't say it.
It just sounds like something very different in English.
So by all means, you can look it up if you want. But I don't want to be banned from the event, so.
なんか言ってもいいんだけど、バンしそうだから言わないとか言って。なんだっけ、バルバ社だっけ。
You probably got time for a couple of donations while I make my way through this palace.
Sure, $25 from Anonymous says, "Hello, fellow Zelda 2 runners. This is Cantaloupe. Glad to see the whole gang there on stage and back couch. Error, if you knew Bagu, that would be swell. Plus, why do you not have the fire spell, since it's the best spell? Runner's choice for donation."
Well, we did leave the red candle in Palace 1 for you.
早いな。What's the
That
word?
was me. That's a little in joke between the Zelda 2 runners.
で、フィアリ
So
ーで
casting the fairy spell, actually getting by these spicy chickens on stairs is more difficult than you would think.
They have the high ground. Don't try it.
Easy to take a lot of damage there, so I spend some of my magic to skip by them.
And he's not going back for the red jar. There's a 50-50 shot.
ジャンプの魔法を使いましたね、今ね。
This one's
So this might be the second most dangerous room in the game.
ここは2番目に危ないところっつってましたね、今ね。
Ooh, that is
っていうのも、この剣士が結構ジャンプ力高くって、
This
追
is
っか
fun.
け回してくるんですよね。
He's only going to be chasing me through here because I actually gave him a block to actually jump up here.
あー、怖いですね。あー、よかったよかった。
That is not the way you want to do that room.
あのナイトが意外と面倒くさいっていう。
That definitely looked way better than it would have if you would have gotten it the right way.
ジャンプ力高いんで、こっちがジャンプの魔法を使ってもそれに追いついてくるっていう。
That knight's name is Scott Bakula.
He made a quantum leap at Error's face.
まあそれが面倒くさいとこですね。ギリギリでしたね。また。
Scott Bakula's twin brother, other Scott.
ああ。
those guys. Part of why they're so dangerous is they can fire beams at many different heights, and sometimes you can't actually tell
こいつ
how to block
こいつ
them,
ジャンプ
whether
力
it's
やらしい
high
から
or low.
な。
Oh, this pattern is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are just not being friendly this run at all.
おお、怖い怖い怖い。お
Look at how many beams are on screen. It's unreal.
So yeah, Link's hitbox. You know how I was killing the Iron Knuckles by hitting them in the visor? Link actually has that same weakness.
ワンアップ取るか
It's
な
just that most enemies can't take advantage of it.
ワンアップ取るかな
So we're getting close to
こっ
the
ち来
final
たって
two
ことは
bosses of the game.
取り来た
And
ね。
one of them is Thunderbird. And you need a certain
あ、じゃあ
spell
穴落ちか。ごめん。
thunder to beat him. And as I open up my spell list, I don't have that.
あれサンダー持ってないけどいけんの？
Also say hi to the cross-eyed big bot. So I'm gonna have to find an alternate route by him.
あれサンダーないけどいいの？
So fairy spell is broken. And
ああ、
if you're in the HUD,
上が行ったのか。
it wraps around and you actually fall. And we just skipped Thunderbird. And we're on the Dark Link.
はい、最後ですね。ああ、あいつスキップするのか。これで、あれで。
So Dark Link, he's usually really hard if you try and real fight him, but we're just gonna
な
stand
る
in
ほ
the
ど。
corner and stab him a whole bunch of times.
ダークリンクとの
Recently found some manipulations to make it even faster and they're
戦いですね
doing pretty well.
これで終わりですね
And
はい
time.
終わりました
That's a good time.
What was my time?
49:31.
That's a PB.
Is it? Wow.
お
Nice.
PB on marathon strats.
おめでとうございます
World record was, I think,
彼の
49.7 on not marathon strats.
彼の PB だそうです
I'm coming for you, simple. But we save Zelda, we're a real hero, and we're going to lower the curtain for an awkward note. Aww. But that's Zelda 2. Thanks for watching. Stay for the Link's Awakening race.
はい、じゃあここでね、配信者交代いたします、ここからははじゃぬまさんが変わりますので、一旦私の方は失礼させていただきますはいじゃあ変わります